everyone, and welcome to this week's lesson.
Over the last few weeks, we've been learning Psalms 23.
The portion of Psalms 23 that we have learned so far is, "The Lord is my shepherd, I have all that I need. He lets me rest in green meadows. He leads me beside peaceful streams." This morning we are going to learn Psalms 23, verse 3a. If you remember, that means the beginning of the verse, and it goes like this: He renews my strength.
So during this time where we've been home, I don't know about you guys, but my girls have spent a lot of time on our trampoline. They have spent time riding their bikes, going outside and playing volleyball or running around, and so they are getting a lot of extra exercise. And what is something that you do after you've played outside or after you've exercised to renew your strength, to make you feel better whenever you're hot and sweaty and you just need something? What do you do? We all kind of know what to do when our bodies are tired. For we get water, we get food or rest. Those are the things that usually rejuvenate our bodies or renew our bodies, and then after a good night's rest we get up and we feel like we can do it all over again. But did you know that your body is not the only thing that gets tired? Something else that we don't always think about that gets tired is our mind and our heart. Our minds, they get tired whenever we are maybe stressed out. Our minds get overloaded when we feel pain. Sometimes we get really tired and worn out when we've had a fight or an argument with a friend or a family member. Our minds and our hearts can get kind of worn out when we've had hard experiences. And just like our bodies need to be rejuvenated when we drink that water or eat that food or get a good night's rest, our minds and our hearts also need to be renewed. And God is the one that renews our minds, and He is the one that renews our hearts. Does anybody know what renew means? Renew means to make something new again, to restore it to what it used to be.
Today's scripture comes from the book of John, chapter 21, and tells us about Jesus and His disciples. I've asked some of my friends to help us act out what the disciples were going through. Jesus had been killed just a few days ago. The disciples are still grieving and sad about Jesus' death. But also, miraculously, it seems Jesus has come back to life. Many of the disciples have seen Him alive again, yet they still aren't exactly sure what to think about everything. Why did Jesus die in the first place? Why hasn't He appeared in full glory to show the Romans and their own enemies that He's alive again? These are the questions going through their minds, and many of them are feeling guilty. They had run away from Jesus and betrayed Him when He needed them the most. They keep asking themselves why they weren't braver, why they didn't try to save Him. They're tired and grieving. Their hearts and minds are worn out. So they decide to go fishing. Many of them were fishermen before they met Jesus, and it seems like the only thing that they can think of to do. The disciples kept fishing all through the night, throwing the net in the water, pulling it back, throwing it again. They fished and fished and fished, but never caught a single fish. It was a tough night. They already felt so down and sad, and now they couldn't even catch any fish. How do you think that they must have felt at this point? When have you really felt down and then something else bad happened on the top of that? As the sun started to come up, they saw someone standing off in the distance on the shore. Who was it standing there? They all craned their necks and squinted their eyes to try to see who it was. Then the person spoke to them. "Friends, have you caught any fish?" The person spoke to them again. "Throw out your net on the right-hand side of the boat, and you'll get plenty of fish." What a strange thing for a person to say, but the disciples figured they could try it out. Oh my goodness, this net is so heavy. They must have thousands of fish in this net. Wow, How did that man on the beach know we'd catch so many fish on this side of the boat? Then one of the disciples suddenly realized who the man on the shore was. It was Jesus. They turned the boat to go to the shore and see Jesus. Jesus had made a fire for his disciples and was cooking fish and bread for them. Bring some of the fish you've just caught, he told them. Then they all sat around the fire together and ate the fish and bread. Imagine how the disciples must have felt right about now. They're so tired and sad and worn out, and here's Jesus offering them food, his friendship, and again, when has someone you loved made you feel better when you were sad? Why did Jesus want to feed and encourage the disciples? After breakfast, Jesus talked to his friend Peter. Peter felt terrible about Jesus' death, and even more than that, Peter felt very, very guilty for denying Jesus before his death. But Jesus wasn't mad at Peter. Jesus wanted to forgive Peter and restore him. Jesus told Peter to follow him and to feed his sheep. Why do you think Jesus said what he did to Peter? When did someone forgive you? How did that make you feel? How would Peter's second chance restore him and renew his strength? The disciples were worn down and tired. Jesus came to them during the darkest point, and he encouraged them and restored their strength. His love and his encouragement renewed them. His encouragement, love, and forgiveness gave them strength to go on and do the work that Jesus asked them to do. God's power made them strong. In the same way, God encourages us to give us the strength we need to continue on. Even in the hardest of times, God's power makes us strong.
So I'm going to list some things, some events that might affect you, your emotion or your mental state. And I want everybody to stand up. And what I want you to do is when I say what it is, I want you to get down low on the floor if it would make you feel really low. Or maybe in the middle, it probably wouldn't affect you too much, but maybe a little bit. Or I want you to stand up strong and wave your hands if it would make you feel really great or high. And so I'm going to list some things, and I want you to do that so you guys can participate in this.
All right. So, you miss an important goal playing soccer. Your team loses the game. How would that make you feel? I can't see you guys, but I would imagine a lot of you guys would feel really low if you missed a goal and it made your team lose the game, right? The next thing is you have a fight with your best friend. Is that going to make you feel really low? Are you low to the ground? Are you kind of in the middle? Or are you feeling really good when you get in a fight? I could almost guess that would make us feel low. I know it would make me feel low. How about you climb a tree, fall off of a branch, and break your arm? How would that make you feel? Nobody's jumping, I hope. That would not make you feel good. I have broken my arm and it is not fun. How about you get in trouble when you lie to your parents? How would that make you feel? Low, medium, or high? That would make me feel low. How about your dog runs away and you can't find her anymore? How would that make you feel? Not so good.
So all of these little scenarios that I just gave you all make us feel kind of low. I want to know, how do you encourage someone when they're feeling low? I know that when I've felt low, it's been people's encouragement that brings me up and makes me feel a lot better. How do you think God helps us when we are sad or we're low, not feeling well, not feeling quite like ourselves? How does God help us? I know last week we talked about how God speaks to us, right? For us to listen to Him. And God speaks to us through His Word. And He speaks to us through other believers. He speaks to us through our parents. And if we're listening, God will renew our strength. He will bring encouragement to our souls. You know, guys, life is not always easy. And sometimes life doesn't always feel good. Sometimes life can be really painful. We can go through painful things. Sometimes we hurt other people, sometimes they hurt us. Other days we're just maybe having a bad day, or we just get kind of run down in our hearts and our minds. During those really hard times, God never leaves us. He makes us feel better by His Word and His presence. We've talked about this. When we have Jesus in our hearts, we have His Spirit. His presence is with us always. Because we have Jesus in our heart, we always have access to His power. And His strength renews us.